Hello, welcome to another episode of Drinking with Comics. My name is Sean.
And I am El Chucktar. Oh, we're
Mike,
not
did you
doing fake
fall?
names again?
Oh, I thought you fell and hit your head, man. I was worried about you there for a minute. El Choctar. That
Oh,
was actually
El Chucktar?
that was my favorite
El
candy bar.
Chucktar?
The same people
Oh,
that made
okay.
Chunky made that. Probably went the same place Chunky did, wherever that
Oh,
is.
man.
So what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Suddenly I'm very warm, even though it's cold outside. Yeah, it's perfect fall weather
Yeah,
here in Tennessee.
same here. Just like came out of nowhere. Just like, bam, summer's gone. It's fall.
Yeah. Well, what are we drinking to celebrate this fall evening?
uh, Imperial Blood of the Unicorn, which is probably one of the cooler cans I've seen in a long time.
It reminds me of Ralph Steadman's art a bit. This is Pipeworks Brewing from Chicago. Do you have you been there? I don't know where that is in Chicago.
I've been to Pipeworks once. We had a lovely brunch there on a Sunday. Um,
Is that Blue Island? Or no, it's
it's not Blue
Chicago.
Island. It's not Chicago. Well, there might be one in Chicago. I don't know. The one we went to was in like not Lamont.
Oh,
Um,
what's the other Lamont-like suburb up there? I always say Lamont and I mean New Lenox. No, this says
not New
Chicago.
Lenox. Yeah, it says Chicago, but the Pipeworks that I went to wasn't in Chicago. It was
Well,
like
so they probably have more than one
suburbs of
location.
Chicago. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so this is a Imperial Red India Pale Ale. So I really like the Imperial Red catches my eye, and then unfortunately the India Pale Ale kind of makes me wonder like, hmm, this is a full pint and it's 9.4% alcohol by volume, meaning I will have a buzz when I'm done with this.
Oh, lucky you.
Oh, so you had given me two of these. I drank the other one. I don't know, when. I
Oh
don't really
man, I
remember
saved
it.
mine. Oh, good.
Oh, it is red. I don't know if the viewers can see this. This is as red as like if I was pouring grenadine into my glass. Holy shit. Are we sure this isn't actually like virgin's blood? Holy
No, it's unicorn
shit.
blood.
Dude, this is so fucking red. I cannot even believe how red this is.
Hold on
Oh my
here.
God. I'm not crazy about the nose. Oh, look at that. Oh.
Red, bubbly. Alrighty. Mike's official beer light. Ooh. Okay.
Now I
Shut off.
now I
All right.
remember this beer.
Oh, that is hoppy.
But it's an interesting recipe. It is hoppy, like right up front,
Malty.
but then yeah, something else sweeps in and removes the hops almost immediately. But it creates
Like
this
magic.
weird, in a way, like unicorns, right? It creates
Yeah.
this weird like no man's land in the middle of my tongue. It's almost
Yeah.
musky. Do you get that?
Yeah, I got a little bit of that no man's land there.
I would imagine that there are people that are
Whew.
absolutely bonkers for this fucking beer. Um, oh man, then it's doing like when I breathe, I get a totally different like flavor that comes up off the inside of my mouth, like off my taste buds at the back of my tongue.
My nose is getting some of it from the inside of my mouth.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it like wafts.
Yeah.
Wow,
Like, woo.
this is a very like I would definitely tell people uh try this beer. This is worth like I think I'm good. Like I don't think I would get this again. Well, you gave this to me, so thank you.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, if I was at
Yeah.
Pipeworks and they had this, I'd be like, I'll try something different. But it's worth having once.
Yeah, I would get it on a, I would, if I did it again, I would get it as a sampler, like a flight. Because I
I
usually
don't
do
do,
flights when I go
I
to
never do
breweries.
flights. It's a good way to get a headache.
Oh, I don't. I gotta taste it all. I gotta experience everything.
Oh,
Because I'll never know when I'll go back.
yeah, that's a good point. Man, That is
Whew,
I don't know that I'll say it's pleasurable. It's not awful by far, but it is interesting. This is going to be an interesting pint to drink, and it will be drank slowly, I think.
that's
Uh,
good. It
yeah,
does.
yeah,
It savors it. Hold on here. It makes me not want to drink not pound them down, I guess you
yeah,
can say. Which
yeah,
I self-controlled is a lot easier with this beer than it is with something tastier.
yeah. Agreed.
Not to say it's not tasty. It does have. It's definitely flavorful.
It's definitely flavorful. I just don't know how keen
Mm-hmm.
I am on the flavor, but it is unique. It's not bad. It's just unique. There's a little bit of
Yeah,
work, a little bit more work than usual involved in this.
a lot of work in those pipes.
It's got a weird, like, viscosity to it. Anyway,
Yeah, the
so
beer moment's
you
gone.
you want to do Under the Umbrella first?
Yeah, let's do that first because I just finished watching it.
So what did you think of Penguin episode 4?
Pop opening. So I heard rumors that there was talk of an Arkham Asylum TV show, and I really hope that happens now.
Hmm.
Because that if that this is it, to me, if this is the spinoff, you know how they do like spinoff shows,
Yeah.
like the Drummonds go to the Facts of Life town and see if that's the school for their daughter, and it's not. Like
Wait,
this
that's a
felt like to me.
crossover. A spin-off would be like the Lone Gunman from X-Files. I don't know why that came into my head. I never watched a single episode of
Well,
Gunman,
no,
but
because that was before. It's not really a spinoff because the Facts of Life show didn't exist yet. You know what I mean?
oh, it didn't?
Let's go back to the Wayback Machine.
No, let's not. Let's
No,
not.
okay. But yeah, I want to say Facts of Life was a spinoff of Different Strokes because there was
That's
what they do
yeah.
back in the day. They would do the episode that ties in but doesn't tie in, and if
Yeah,
people
yeah.
like that episode, the series. This to me kind of felt like this is the episode where, you know, if the Arkham Asylum was the idea to get an Arkham Asylum based on this
Hmm.
is the episode where you can, because they didn't really cover the whole Dr. Ventress, I think his
Yeah.
name was.
Yeah, Ventress.
He was doing some shit there, man.
Yeah. He was giving them all drugs for one thing.
Well, he was testing them. He was playing mind games on people. He was
Well, yeah.
full on crazy Arkham Asylum storyline that was not resolved in that episode that left hanging like they're just cranking out the baddies.
So I is he a pre-existing character or is I believe Julian Rush is. I think I looked
I
that up
don't
last week.
Was he? I don't know. I just finished the episode 20 minutes ago, so I didn't have time. I meant to look that up and I didn't.
I mean, I know that you have pretty good DC knowledge, so I just wondered if you had it on the top of your head. What about like
It
Magpie's a character, correct?
Magpie's a character.
And what about, did you recognize the bitch that beats Sophia up at
No,
first? Because I felt
no,
like
I did
maybe,
not.
okay, I felt
They
like
didn't
that was
mention her
supposed
name
to
at
be
all.
somebody.
Yeah, I feel they might have just left that kind of open to interpretation because she got killed, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that
Ugh,
was gross.
that's pretty gross.
Um, well, like Sophia's got a little bit of like full on um that Batman villain. Um, I'm not gonna say crazy, but love for the theatrics, I
Yeah,
guess you could say. A little
grandiosity.
spring in your step, a little get you till you gotcha. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I like to think that's what Arkham Asylum's doing, just giving you a little spring to your step for the world, giving you an idea.
It was really cool to spend the whole episode there. Like for the most
Yeah,
part, it wasn't the whole episode, but it was the bulk of it, and I really appreciated it. And then the kind of the coda of how she comes out, and then the the end of the episode, which we won't spoil, but she makes her move or whatever, and
I liked her when she was eating dinner, the big dinner scene. She does open, she's like smiling at the little girl, like, "Oh, look, I got food in my mouth."
Yeah,
And I gotta say, I love how she eats food, because she's just eating it with her
yeah,
hands and
yeah,
just like she's like a maniac eating food. And when she goes to restaurants and stuff, because that's what she's been doing for the last 10 years and doesn't know how to be in society. It's such a nice little touch they added to that
yeah.
character. Yeah,
I think it's also she observes the way it off like it freaks people out, and so she does it. I think she leans into it.
a little bit. Yeah.
She's a great character.
Yes.
Really, really enjoyed seeing Oz as her driver and kind of getting that backstory. It's a good show, man. It's man, I gotta say, we said it last week. It's a good show, and I would like to offer a small coda to last week as well. So I did see Joker, uh, the sequel, whatever the fuck the name of it is,
Yeah.
and I do not think it is as bad as people have said. I don't like.
Okay.
Okay, two couples got up and walked out of the theater, and when we went in, I asked the girl taking the tickets. I said, hey, so has anybody like you seen anybody walk out of this? She's like, no. Two couples got up and left. And I honestly think at this point, this is just this thing where people are going to do that because it's like in the air to do it as this kind of like, you know,
I didn't realize that was something people were doing.
oh, it's I keep hearing it everywhere that people are walking out, people are walking out. So I think
Ugh.
it's become, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna walk out too, because fuck, it's not that bad. Um, my dad and my dad and my girlfriend fucking loved it.
Good.
But here's the thing, I didn't hate it. The first one is 5 star, fucking full heart on Letterbox. I love the movie, right? This one is 3 stars, and it's just the fact that you took a 5 star movie and fell to 3 stars for the sequel, a sequel that doesn't need to fucking exist, and everybody
Yeah.
involved in this movie knows that. Like, I'm pretty sure when the dump truck full of money came to Todd Phillips' house, he was like, okay, I'm just going to make a movie that showcases, Joaquin. And that's what this movie does. But literally, no spoiler, but nothing happens in this movie at all. Nothing. There's nothing that happens.
Okay.
You see a lot of shit, but nothing actually happens. And in the end, I'm not going to spoil that, but I just feel like the studio was like, you can have your ending, but you have to leave us a breadcrumb in case we want to make another one. So that's what he did.
I've heard one customer who I think has a decent taste in stuff. He said he liked it a lot too. I've never heard about people walking out. And I wonder if this is like, um, is this some sort of like weird political thing? Because,
No,
Kamala Harris was like, people are walking out of Trump's thing.
no,
Is like, these people are just like trying to be like, well, we're going to do that to Joker too.
no. This is
Show
just
those
a thing.
liberals in Hollywood.
No, this is just a thing
Okay.
now where it's just the idea is there so people are ready to do it, right? Like, oh, we're gonna,
Hmm.
and the only movie I've walked out of, I don't want to say ever, but that I can remember, right? And in recent memory was Skinamarink. And I probably would have sat through the whole movie had I been by myself, and I would have been annoyed as fuck. I didn't mind leaving, but I knew my girlfriend was in agony. And I mean, I thought it was fucking just completely stupid. So I was like, "Do you want to leave?" And she said, "Yeah." And we got up and left. But
Okay.
and I tried to watch it later at home. I was just like, "Oh fuck this fucking movie." But I don't walk out of movies, and I've sat through some bad ones. It's not that bad. I mean, if nothing else, you get to see Joaquin Phoenix. He's awesome. The musical choices are fucking phenomenal. And it's not like a
Hmm.
musical where everything is like a big production. Most of the musical numbers are individual characters who will be like on the payphone and start singing, right?
Okay.
Or there's a couple, I think there's two, maybe three like production numbers. But I don't know. I mean, Lady Gaga is great. She always is. I mean, I haven't seen her in a lot, but what I've seen her in, she's great. I don't really care for her music, but I think she's extremely fucking talented.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. I don't. It's not that bad. It's not nearly as good as the first one, though. That was my big disappointment. It's like, man, but they knew they couldn't do that again. So it's like, well, what can we
Yeah,
do?
I've
Because they're
I've
paying us.
seen I've seen people take victory laps over because Terrifier did so good. And it's
That was,
like,
dude. What
why
is
why is that a victory lap? You know,
Why is
like
that shocking to anyone? Everybody knew that movie was going to make fucking whatever 20-30 million dollars. I mean, I certainly knew it. So, I mean, the Joker didn't do that well. So, of course, Art the Clown is going to fucking clobber him because it was primed to make a lot of fucking money.
well,
I
I
mean,
also feel like there is I feel like the movie going business has changed a lot. And I feel like
yeah.
the people like you who like to go to movies like horror movies are, like they are more into it, the horror movie aspect of the whole thing.
Hmm.
So of course they're gonna go out to a horror movie and not go see the comic book movie because like the comic book movie people aren't probably going to comic book movies that much anymore. Maybe like the
Yeah.
general audience isn't there. It's just since COVID, the only ones who still want to go see a movie in the movie theater are the horror guys.
I mean, I don't think that's entirely true, but I don't think you're entirely wrong either.
Yeah,
And the horror crowd is definitely very like tried and true, and also there's not necessarily an exhaustion that goes along with horror movies like there is that goes along with comic book movies, right? And
which is funny because it's like the same thing over and over
but
again.
it's
But
not. And I mean, I gotta say, I went Thursday and saw Terrifier, and I'll tell you, I don't like the first Terrifier movie at all. The second one I
okay.
saw in the theater, and I mean, it's extremely long. Like it needs to be edited. There's like a dream sequence early on where I was like, "Oh my God, are you fucking kidding me?" And it's mean spirited and almost too much. But I like here's the main thing. David Howard Thornton, who I'll come back to in a minute because this will tie back into comic books. David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown, his
Hmm.
like mime based acting is just it's fucking fantastic, right? The special
Hmm.
effects are so good that it becomes too much. Like the shit I see done to human bodies in these movies is like it's almost too much. I can't go with the extreme horror crowd. So this is it like is just on the other side of being that. And they're mean spirited, but it's definitely it's also the only movie I know of that reminds me of being a kid and watching horror movies because I had a certain amount of trepidation going into this one because I was I I don't know, am I going to see something that like ruins me? I mean, I'm kind of kidding, but I'm kind of not. There's like a little bit of an element of like, Jesus, what are they going to do?
I mean, Art the Clown is created to be the next Jason, the next Freddy, to be that iconic horror
Yes,
slasher guy.
yes, but
And to say he isn't, it just is. It's like
no, it is
we
100%.
came up with this character. He's a great idea. He looks creepy. Yeah, let's go with the clown.
But I mean, there's a
Um,
thousand horror characters that are shooting for that, and none,
yeah.
really none of them get it. And this guy fucking deserves it because, I mean, oh my, he's just magnetic as fuck to watch on screen. And then they've introduced this mythology. They got the hottest final girl I've seen in like 30 years. I mean, she's a great actor, and every moment she's on screen, I'm like, my God, this chick just radiates like this. I don't know, wow. But they are fucked up movies. And the funny thing is, like, dude, the the theaters are full, right? Like my theater was full. I've never been to a movie in Clarksville and had the theater even close to this was full. And
Yeah,
these
because it's a
movies,
horror movie.
but this would normally be, I would think, too much for a large percent of people. Like there is
Well,
this
I mean,
this makes Freddy look like fucking Little House on the Prairie, and I am not exaggerating. I
well, no,
am
I'm
not
sure because it's
exaggerating.
you got to push the envelope even further and
I
further
mean,
with
it
each one
is,
of these.
yes, but it is,
And I'm not saying this to knock horror movies.
hmm,
It's just that's just it's it's about pushing the envelope.
yeah,
A horror movie is always going to be a cheap, easy um comeback for your money because
Yeah,
you throw in the special effects. Computer effects are expensive. Practical
yeah.
effects are not, but computer effects are a lot easier to do. So it makes sense of why you do them. And you can't do a practical effect of a giant army of soldiers, and there's a
Well,
lot,
you
a
could.
lot
It's
going
just
on in well, yeah, but I mean,
nobody's going to
like
pay for it.
we
I mean, that's why
watched,
Terry Gilliam can't make movies anymore, right?
we rewatched Thor Ragnarok, right? There's no way you can make that movie with practical effects. It would not look good. Not with and there's a lot in it. There's a lot of great costumes in it, a ton of people, but like there's just the way the city looks, the space towns and all that. There's a lot going on in that movie
Yeah.
that you'd have to green screen it because you can't go to all these locations, all the places in it, and all that stuff. It just would be $1 billion movie. So
Well, and
yeah, you'd
that's the
have.
thing. And that's like, I remember when Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus came out, the Terry Gilliam flick with Heath Ledger. So that was like, I don't know what year that was. I'll say 2009. And I remember all these people were like, fuck Terry Gilliam. He went digital, like, he's using computer animation or, CG graphics and stuff. And it's like, do you not realize that every movie Terry Gilliam, like The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, I think it like doubled whatever the budget was. He went either double or two and a half over it. And it also like another, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 or 6 months. No studio's making that movie now. So if you
Yeah,
want Terry Gilliam to keep making movies, guess what? He's got to use computer shit because there's nobody going to
yeah,
pay for anybody to do that shit. Nobody.
yeah. There's just too much to do, like that you can't do in practical effects. Like, I mean, there's something to say about practical effects. I'm not
Oh,
knocking that.
practical effects are hands down. I'll
Yeah,
take a practical effect over a computer effect any fucking day, any day. I mean, especially in a horror movie. Maybe not in a Marvel movie. I don't
in a
know, but I
horror
mean, I
movie,
don't.
yeah, Marvel movie, I don't need to see Muppets.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's fair, but I mean, I also don't really need to see Marvel movies, so it works out pretty good.
Yeah. Mm.
Oh, how the times have changed.
Uh, yeah,
Um, but yeah, so David Howard Thornton art just came out and was like, I want to play the Joker. And
interesting.
I think that would be
I thought he
really
was already.
I think that would be really really interesting. I don't know. I mean, I think he specifically said I think he said, like Killing Joke, or he might have said I feel like he said Dark Knight Returns, but I feel like that's wrong. But I don't know. He mentioned two specific older storylines. And who know I don't know. Who knows? I thought that was pretty cool, though. I mean, I don't think he wants to get typecast playing clowns, but I mean, he might as well add another one to the
Yeah.
fucking bag. So,
If you're going to be known for being a clown, go with the most famous clown in history.
yeah. Mm. Checking back in on this beer. I don't know if you get this. It leaves something like a. It's not even a flavor. It does something to my lips that I don't care for. It's almost like I
I'm
get
not getting
cotton
anything
mouth
on my
on my
lip.
lips.
Oh yeah, hold on.
The way IPAs give you that, like the
Yeah, I don't. It's not touching my lips, so I don't. But yeah, I know. I think I understand what you're saying. I get like a little tingly to it. Yeah,
um
we're gonna pucker up our red lips later.
continuing with the Batman. You realize that on this show it seems like and so somebody messaged me recently, or like, so what, you just cover like Energon Universe and Batman and nothing else? I'm like, well, wait a minute. Well, oh yeah,
Yeah,
maybe okay. Um that's not
that
that's not
that,
like
that
a
person knows me very well.
that's not our like ethos on this show. It just so happens that that's what's been happening. So I swear to you, there will be more. But as long as we're on the Batman, as long as we're, as the kids say, on Batman's dick, um,
I
talk
mean,
about yeah,
I'm wearing a
talk
Batman shirt. I am
talk
sitting in
about
front of Transformers and GI
yeah,
Joes.
talk about the
Sorry.
talk about the book you want to talk about.
Okay, let's talk about Absolute Batman.
Is it absolutely fucking awesome?
So going back to like now I feel bad about talking about Batman. Your friend, your whoever
No,
messaged
it is
you.
fine. It wasn't a friend. It was just a random. I mean, not the, it's a
Well,
random person.
I'm glad people are paying attention. Thank you for watching.
Well, they might not be paying attention now that I'm
Yeah.
referencing it, I'm swearing that that's not the ethos, and then we're just going to continue to talk about Batman. What are you going to do?
Thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing, friend.
You know what? We'd talk a hell of a lot about Amazing Spider-Man too if it didn't come out every 3 days. So sorry, I had to jump off.
Yeah, I'll throw a Ghost Rider in when there's a new Ghost Rider series. Trust me, guys. I have two other things I like.
There was a new Ghost Rider series in my box either last week or the week before, and I put it back. They had pulled it in case I wanted it. I'm like, no, sir, I do not want that. I'm good.
Oh, there's the yeah. All right, so let me tell you this so Absolute Batman, blah blah blah. Let's get back to that.
Just came out last week.
This came out last week. I wasn't intrigued by it. I've been hearing a lot of things about it, especially the bulked up Batman. But there was one thing that kept me away from this book, and that was Scott Snyder. I have nothing against Scott Snyder personally, but I hate his writing. I
Okay.
have his run on Batman was like hideous to me to read. I didn't like the changes he made to it. It was New 52. There's a lot of changes going on. It was them. I think it was like to me that was Batman, DC's first attempt to try and do an Ultimate book,
Hmm.
but getting rid of all the other Batman books and doing this as the new Ultimate book was not the way to do it. And his run on Batman just drove me nuts because it was just he made Batman dumb in my opinion. Like there was
Okay.
like I remember it was like the first issue that I read because I gave it a try and I gave it a couple issues a try and I couldn't stand it. But I remember distinctly like the one of the first things that stuck out to me that I thought was the whole Court of Owls thing,
Hmm.
which is okay, fine. There's a secret society that lives in Gotham that Batman did not know about for years. I find that hard to believe that Batman's been around for X amount of years and didn't know about it. And the other thing was their office, their main building was in the Wayne building. The the 13th floor of the Wayne building was their secret office. And in the for Batman, who has a Batcave underneath that building, to not know there was a 13th floor in his own building that housed these villains, just it's dumb to me.
That sounds pretty dumb.
And he did some other things too that I didn't like. And I've given him a fair shake a couple of times because he was writing my favorite DC book. Well, second favorite, but one of my favorite characters. Um, so I couldn't get into his writing for years. I just like every time I see him, I just like noped out on him always. But I want to see what the hubbub was about this, and honestly, I kind of wanted to get something to bitch about. Like I gave it a chance, it would suck. But surprise, surprise, I actually fucking loved this book. It was a lot
Really?
of fun. And because it's their third attempt at a Ultimate Universe, the second
So
one was
that
Earth
is what this
One.
is. Absolute is their version of Ultimate, right?
Is their version of Ultimate Universe is a different universe where dark side energy rules and Superman has all the good energy and that's the normal universe. This is dark side's universe, so everything's a little darker, which honestly turns me off on that. Just saying it out loud. This is great. Our Dark Batman book. Woo!
Oh, that's never been done before.
Yeah. But they do some interesting things here, which I thought was kind of fun. Um, I take it you didn't read it.
No. I mean,
Yeah. Okay.
I saw the absolute thing, and first of all, I was like, so you already have like your absolute series as far as Absolute Sandman, Absolute this, Absolute that, where they get the top shelf treatment, and you couldn't think of a better fucking name for
I
your ultimate.
know.
Like, it's just so fucking dumb. And then the other thing is when I was like, what is this? And they're like, oh, it's like this hardcore Batman that like kills people and is super violent. I'm like, okay, I couldn't think of anything less interesting. at all.
He
But
is luckily
tell me I'm
not.
wrong.
He doesn't kill people. Um, there's some interesting changes. One of the things like one of the things that first stuck out me is Alfred is comes to Gotham and he's kind of like an old rugged MI6 secret agent guy. So he's kind of the narrator of the story. He's the one telling the story.
So is this like
Uh,
a is it what's that show? I remember there were these billboards all over LA like a year ago when I was there. It was like Pennyworth, that show where he's like a
oh, that show's
bad
great.
dude. The tagline for that show is the secret origin of Batman's butler. I was like, are you kidding me right now? Anyway, I'm sorry. So is this like is it
Hey,
like that kind of character?
yeah, kind of. In that show, it's a young Alfred.
Yeah.
I love that show, and one of the things I
Okay.
love about the last episode of the season, he's it's like a two. You remember? Do you know like 2000 AD, like Judge Dredd
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
comics, 2000 AD? It reminds me of like if we took Alfred, Batman's butler, and threw him in a 2000 AD universe.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets weird. Um, but to digress, back to Absolute Batman because I could talk about Alfred for like 5 minutes. Uh, where was that? Oh yeah, so Alfred's like the
Narrator.
MI6 guy, kind of like the narrator. He's telling most of the story. There are some interesting twists here. I'm going to give you all spoilers because you're not going to read it, and anyone who hasn't read it yet should probably buy it and read it.
Well, so okay, so ladies and gentlemen, there's spoilers are coming.
Spoiler.
So you might want to skip 5 minutes ahead or just turn us off and be like, fuck these guys. God damn. But we warned you. Go ahead.
Oh no, fast forward. We're going to do something else.
Yeah, well, we are. There's more, and it won't be Batman, but
Yeah,
it
it'll be
will
something else you won't like.
but it will be Energon Universe.
Okay, so this Batman, his parents aren't rich. His dad is a teacher. His mom is a social worker. So he's comes up from poor. He grew up in crime alley. Um, Bruce Wayne was smart. Studied a lot of schools. Goes through all that stuff. So they do a good job explaining how Bruce Wayne became Batman.
Okay.
Um, and this one, he's bulk. He's built like a brick house. He's fucking worked his body to a stupid level of muscles that I kind of like. I look at the picture every time I see him. I just think it's like me, Batman, go over there and fight crime. Type
Nice.
of big dopey looking dude, but he's not. He's really smart and Batman, but just looks like he'd be dopey.
Okay.
But the thing that really stuck me in there was he's working out in Killer Croc's gym or Waylon's gym, and he's friends with Waylon, Killer Croc. He grew up with him, and you found out he grew up with Selena, Ozzy, Harvey. Um, I think there's two other people. I can't remember two other villains. Look it up later. But there's a great picture of it in here with him as a kid with all his rogues gallery. Um,
But looking like the
right.
little rascals.
Yeah, looking like
Okay.
little rascals. Look at that. Um, growing up, which kind of gave me like it
Yeah,
it
yeah, okay.
vibes when they're kids.
I
Like
can see
they
that.
have history.
Yeah.
Which is like okay, that's kind of a really neat twist on Batman. I'm intrigued that he grew up with these kids, that he knew them all his entire life, and
Okay.
they will be his villains. Um, but yeah, I like the so that's what kind of sunk me into it. Like that is an interesting twist that I want to know more of.
Okay.
And there's a group of villains called the Party Animals, led by Black Mask. And there seems to be like an overwhelming animal theme. Batman, Black Mask has this like ape theme. They're party animals. There might be some sort of weird unspoken animal totem thing going on here that I don't know about yet. But it was intriguing. Um, And Batman himself seems to, outside of being just ripped like Cable and the Hulk, he seems to be pretty cool. He just fights crime, does all that stuff. His dad was killed when he was young. His mom is still alive. Also, a neat, interesting twist.
Now, when his dad was killed, was it because he looked the other way at a burglar and who then killed his dad? And
So
oh,
he won
please
a
say that was.
field
Please tell
trip.
me. Please tell
No,
me no.
it's more a little on the nose than that. He won a field trip to the zoo, and a mad shooter, unknown whose name is or what it is, starts shooting up the zoo. His dad shoves all the kids, 'cause he took his class, shoved all the kids into the bat sanctuary,
Okay,
um,
that's I roll
and
my eyes,
stood
but
outside
okay,
and got shot. Still,
okay,
you're going to have to do that. It's Batman.
yeah, well, yeah,
Um, so that's the reason why he becomes Batman, is because he's
okay.
this thing with bats. Um, so yeah, that was kind of neat. And there's a couple other fun things going on there. Um, I recommend it. It's interesting. It's
Okay.
an interesting take on Batman. There's enough changes to make it good. I'm glad they finally got it out. This to me, this is their third time doing an Ultimate book. The first one to me was 52, failed
Mm-hmm.
miserably. They did Earth One, which was those hardcovers,
Mm-hmm.
which would have been good if you made them like every 6 months, not every 3 years. Because by the time the third one comes out, who cares?
That was
Six
Morrison,
years.
wasn't it?
That one was Jeff Johns. It had
Oh,
some
never mind.
interesting, yeah, but it had some interesting storylines to it. Um, and it looked good. I think Gary Frank did the artwork, and it potentially could have been really good. It's just by the time you got to around the second one's like I don't remember what happened to the first one. Why do I care?
Right, right.
Um, but this is
No,
monthly. It's its own thing. You're not canceling the other. Even though I don't read the other Batman books, they shouldn't be canceled because you're doing something different.
yes, I agree.
So yeah, I like it. It's finally a Scott Snyder book like that I can get behind.
So let me ask you, Batman wise, there's a book
Mhm.
that is slated. So I think we've talked about this before. I use League of Comic Geeks to kind of keep track of my polls and stuff.
Okay.
There's a book that's slated for this week that when I asked them to put it on my poll at Rick's last week, they're like, oh, I think that got pushed back. Do you know anything about Batman Full Moon?
No, I haven't heard about that one.
So this is like I'm assuming it's like an Elseworlds thing. Um, and it's like got a werewolf thing running through it. I mean, I don't want to
Hmm.
like there's a lichen stalking the streets, blah 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 of Gotham. But it looks cool, and I think it's only like 3 issues, maybe. So I was gonna pick it up, but then I was just curious if you knew anything about the release because it's still listed as this week, and I don't know. So
No, I haven't. I honestly, I look at the invoice tomorrow at work and go, okay, this is all stuff that came in. So
okay,
I don't pay attention. I too busy
yeah,
worried
no,
about the stuff this week to worry about
yeah,
what's
I get it.
happening next week.
I just wondered if there had been any like solicitation hullabaloo, like because maybe it was going to be a big thing. I don't know. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that third issue of Gargoyle of Gotham, whatever the fuck it's called. Which I love those first 2 issues, and I did that third one just keeps getting pushed. That was kind of the thing that got me really like bad. And I mean, back into I was never a month by month Batman reader, but when I was younger, pick it up here or there, or pick up some of the like one-off titles or Elseworlds or
Hmm.
whatever. But I mean, it's just gotten to the point where there's just it's just the over proliferation of the character and most of his, it's like family is just so much, and I'm like, whatever. But once in a while, something sneaks through, and that's a couple of them, and this full moon looks really cool.
Okay,
Um,
I'll have to look at that when this comes in.
I'll
Um,
send you a picture of it so you can, maybe keep your eye out for it or whatever.
oh, I'll see it when it comes out. I just like there's a certain amount of charm of like the old days when you didn't know what existed till you
Yeah.
got to the store and looked around. I have a little bit of that going on
So
for
you're
some
lucky
stuff.
because one of the things, like you're 100% correct in a perfect world, but I feel like I have to be on top of shit because, this is like, I thought this was just a thing in it. So Rick's there's a bigger store in Nashville I've never been to. So the one in Clarksville where I go is a smaller store. And,
Okay.
when, like for instance, Jeff Lemire's Minor Arcana, the first issue came out, I picked that up. I liked it. I forgot to tell him to put on my pull. So the second issue came out, I didn't get it because if the first issue, they'll order some extra copies, and if it doesn't sell out, then they're probably going to order whatever is for your pull, people's pull list, and maybe a copy or two of number two, and then if that's, it just whittles down.
Yeah,
So,
that's kind of how that goes. Yeah.
but that's all apparently a lot of stores. I don't know if you guys see this, but Chris Saunders, my friend and co-host on A Most Horrible Library, he said the same thing about the comic bug, and like the comic bug is close to your level of the size of that of your store. So, it would always be like big titles or even little, like they have enough copies are on the shelf like perpetually for a couple months. And apparently that is not the case because when the six finger and the one hand or the two-part like um kind of like Blade Runner-esque noir, like neo noir
Hmm.
was running out. I talked to Chris. He's like, dude, they don't order copies for the shelf. Like they're just not there because the first issue didn't sell out, so they just really get them for the pull customers. And I get it, right? I
Hmm.
totally get it. But I used to take all that shit for granted.
We usually, it's not pull, well, we keep track of what sells off the shelf too.
Yeah.
So we get enough for the shelf. If we sold 10 copies off the shelf, we're going to order 10 more copies of that
Well, that's
book.
what I mean. I think
But
the self shelf sales drop, and so they drop their orders accordingly.
yeah, um, there's probably something where they because the other thing is you can't, I don't know how it used to be before COVID. Um, and I don't keep track of it because it's someone else's job. I have my stuff that I do.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
three people that work here. We all have our own thing to do, which is why I don't keep up with what's going on. It's new because I'm busy worrying about other things, just to be
yeah,
clear for everyone doesn't. You know that, I know that, the people that are watching don't
yeah. Fair
realize that.
enough. Yeah,
Um, so I'm not like trying to say like I'm blissfully ignorant. It's just it's not my job,
right. The person
and
who
it's
knows it's
not
their
the
job to know.
yeah, it's yeah, my boss, that's her job, she knows. So there's something to this that I don't know. But what used to be before COVID, when things were different and it was all diamond, you'd order your 10 books, and then it was the third issue was by the time you figured out that the first issue didn't sell, because the second, you
Got
had
it.
to guess blindly on the first issue. You had to guess blindly on the second issue. So you ordered a little less than the first issue because the first issue is going to do well sometimes in the little ones. So you're kind of guessing blindly. By the time the first issue comes out, you already have the information you need for the third issue. So you have that information to go by, and then you order the third issue accordingly. And that's why you would see a lot of third issues go up in value because
Oh,
there's less of those out there. And sometimes, and I think Marvel did this on purpose, but there was a solid run of, for like in the 21s or something like that, that key characters would show up in the third issue
that's
because they
interesting.
knew they did this. So, like Star Wars, I'm familiar with Dr. Ahara, Dr. Afara.
I know what
Um,
it is. Yeah.
yeah, she appeared in Darth Vader #3. And there was a couple other major characters. That's the one that sticks out mostly in my head. But there was a couple other major characters that came out. It was the third issue of that series that they would show up. It was like this weird little like their way of trying to like, hey, you're gonna have to order more issues of three because we're gonna start doing this.
Wow.
But
Fuck
I don't know
them.
if that was true or not. I just felt like that seemed like something they were doing. Um, but yeah, that's why you would see the third issues like shoot up in price
Okay.
because everyone would order less of that issue because of the third issue, and they have their information locked, and then boom, big character or less of it. There's also a thing where a lot of the first issues are returnable now.
Okay.
So they probably have, I think Magic Arcania was one of those. Like, hey, order 10 of these. The new EC books were returnable. So you could order,
Okay.
like, hey, order 100 of these, give it a try. And if they don't sell, you can return them.
Okay. Okay. Which is
So
smart.
yeah, which is how they used to do it. DC and Marvel don't ever really do that
I mean,
because they don't
because they
need
don't
to.
need to. They don't need to,
Yeah,
which is it's just shitty, but whatever. I get it.
yeah. Um, so there's that aspect too of why they don't have what you're looking for. But it's always good to put your name down for something and
Yeah,
getting
I
it
mean,
because
that's
it
not a
does make things
criticism
easier.
at all. Not at
Yeah.
all.
Oh yeah.
I get it, especially with a
And
smaller
I don't know
shop.
how they do their shit, so I don't. That's just
No,
how we
100%.
did it, especially
Right,
when I
100%.
was paying attention to
Well, thank you for the
that.
insider info. That's good.
Yeah,
That's stuff. That's quality
that's why we
programming
tune in
from
here.
Drinking with Comics.
Yeah, tune
Um,
in here for that.
just so everybody, so we're gonna make this
Do-do-do-do.
announcement. The Energon Drunk on Energon is now just going to be a segment because there's just not going to be enough to have a full show. So we're going to talk about Scarlet #5 and Transformers #13. Mike, what do you think of Scarlet #5?
I I liked it. Overall, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was the best issue of the series.
I think the last one was a little bit better,
Did it
if I
have
recall.
motherfucking
But
Cobra Commander in it?
at the very end,
No, it didn't. It didn't. It just said next
I
issue Cobra
thought.
Commander. So by
Oh, okay.
default, no, I'm just kidding. I mean,
In his whole 1, 2 panels.
still that
Yeah.
I don't know. It was cool to see. It was very cool to see.
I will say this. I love that Cobra Commander reached through his back to grab the gun. Oh, that was such good detail.
Yeah. No, I was very pleased seeing that. But what, I mean, overall, how did you, so you liked it, you're
I liked
saying,
it. I'm intrigued the fact that she's sticking around, that she's not going to GI Joe. Um, but my overall trouble with this is now there's like a third group of people that are vying for the Transformer. Like how not Transformer, but how overstuffed is this GI Joe book gonna be with
so you,
Shaggy, Cobra, Mars, all
well,
these
and don't
people.
forget two G.I. Joe teams, right? So
Yeah.
you bring up a good point. We've talked about this, like a large part of the thrill has been all these multiple tension points instead of just being G.I. Joe Cobra, right?
Hmm.
And I'm all for more tension points, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
we've got Cobra La, we've got Cobra, we've got GI Joe, two teams potentially. We've got the Arashikage. Are the Dreadnoks somewhat autonomous? Like, but
Yeah.
the thing is, how I thought of this as I finished this issue and I was going through this, like, oh, another tension point. I pictured you going, yeah, but we need another book at least to cover all this shit. Otherwise, everybody's just going to get a page.
Yeah. Um, yeah. That is 100% how I feel about it. But overall, I still like it. I'm sure maybe that's something they plan on doing. Like she'll be a Scarlet series 2 or a Storm Shadow miniseries.
I would
Um,
think there would be a Storm Shadow. I mean, that seems
yeah,
like that would be a safe bet.
yeah. Or
And we still didn't see Snake Eyes, right?
I know. I was so wrong about that.
I'm surprised. I really thought you would hit it on the head. Here's the other thing. So is the sword made of energon, or like, do you have any sense of what exactly?
I'm assuming it's made of energon. It's definitely energy based. Um, but yeah, I thought the sword was a little bit of a. It's obviously what Cobra Commander wanted. He's like, the energon's over there. We gotta get that. So it's
Yeah.
clearly energon based. I just don't know if it's like a physical manifestation, like say like Optimus Prime's Energon Axe. Does it pop up? Does it like I don't quite get that. Is
Well,
it
and
just made out like crystal?
also it's like it's this like thing that has been with the Arashikage for generations or whatever. So now I'm picturing big time because a series like the Energon Universe where you're commingling all these things. This is exactly how I played with my toys, and I just picture like, so is the storyline coming where some ancient ancestor of Storm Shadow and the Hardmaster like somehow found the Ark or something, and then and I'm like, that's exciting to me because I'm like, that's like little kid
Yeah.
toy playing storytelling, and I was like, that is what really is gonna continue to endear this to me now. And Starscream 13 fucking had that shit, man. It had it because a
Oh,
fucking hiss tank shows up. I don't know who any of the fucking people with the hiss tanks were, but holy fuck, dude. When I saw that, I was like, I get to know Starscream's real name and there's a hiss tank?
yeah. Ulchtar? Oh, how do you pronounce that?
Who knows?
I gotta say, when you got your buddy name, oh, Giovo, Ulchtar, and our friend Jetfire.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Like, okay, I could have used a little better. Like, you could just call him like Starfinder or something like that. Now he's like called Starscream. But I love the origin why he's named Starscream,
Yeah, it was
even
cool.
though it's cool, but it's a little forced in there. You know, when you screamed at the star.
Yeah. Yeah. It was cool to see they were all like as like youngins like running out to watch
Yeah.
what is that? So I had been a couple weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I watched a ton of the. Remember we were talking about? Okay, so you had Transformers '86, the movie. Then you had when the show
Hmm.
came back and it picked up where that left off. You had the Five Faces of Darkness, which was the 5-part miniseries about the Quintessons, and then I was watching into the season, and there was this whole thing where some of the Autobots go to the past, and there's the whatever the Omega Supreme, whatever that thing is called, which is in this issue. They're watching them fly
Omega
over
Supreme.
them.
Yeah, that's a Sentinel, I think they call it.
They're drawing directly from what I was watching. I was like, oh my God, that's fucking crazy. Like, yeah, it shouldn't surprise me at this point because you get enough Scuckoid or whatever the fuck his name is. Um,
I did enjoy the whole like, hey, how's it going? He just kind of waves at them. Hey, little
yeah,
robots.
yeah. No, I really, really enjoyed Transformers 13. I really, really
Yeah,
liked
and I
it.
like Starscream was like, don't hurt the little insectoids. Like,
Yep,
such a nice guy. And then
such a nice guy.
shit happens, and then Megatron shows up, turns into a gun, has him hold him. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, hold me.
Yeah, I do have one gripe about the thing though, and that's the fact that they're Cybertron. Okay, so they're on Cybertron, but they still like look like Earth jets. I hate that. I hate that in the original cartoon. It's just that little thing that drives me nuts. You're an artist, you could just draw something a little different on the chest to make it look more not Earth.
Yeah, and I feel like the original Marvel comic did. I'll just always reference the Smelting Pool 2 issue with Lord Straxus and Blaster. I think
Mm,
it's either 1718 or 1617. I always forget, but um, they did a good job of like the shit that they transform. Like Blaster didn't transform into a Ghetto Blaster, right? Because
yeah.
there's no such thing on Cybertron. So they did a pretty good job of that then. So it can be done, and I feel like people would appreciate it. So yeah, it does kind of drive me nuts.
Well,
Like
in
Jetfire,
the
really?
first episode of Transformers, it was they were in their
Oh,
Bumblebee
yeah,
looked like a Volkswagen Bug, but then turned into like a weird little spaceship that kind of resembles a Volkswagen Bug, but then turns back into a guy. It looks like he's made of Volkswagen Bug parts.
right.
And even as a kid, my eyes just kind of like, why don't they just have Cybertronian modes? Like
Yeah,
we rebuilt them, just make them look like that car.
yeah,
Jets, he turns into the jet, the three tri jet thing, but just
yeah,
doesn't look
yeah.
like it. So roll the Zartan thing.
Mike, who do you think Zartan is?
I think it's the main general dude who dresses like so that you got that big fat guy smoking a cigar, wearing a Zartani looking vest, having a
Ooh,
Zartani mohawk, having a Zartani very looking pants, doing some Zartani salvaging stuff. Is that Zartan?
that was the thing where when the his tank showed up, I was literally, it was like a page turn. I was like, oh my fucking God, this is amazing. But I'm like, who am I? Do I know? Am I supposed to know who these people are? Like, I wasn't sure.
Is that Zartan?
It, I don't know that that makes sense because why would he be disguised as just another like
Maybe he's
you
not
know?
disguised yet.
But they
I'm
reference in
sure
Cobra Commander that he was disguised.
he's undercover doing something. Could this be it?
No, this isn't undercover. I
Zartan
mean, I could
assassin?
be
I
wrong,
don't
but I feel
know.
like that would be a fucking waste.
It might be, but it's the Mohawk. If you look at like,
Yeah,
if you
but I mean,
pulled
how
up,
many
there's that.
dreadnoks have fucking mohawks?
But if you pulled up the 1990s Ninja Force Zartan toy, he has a red Mohawk like this.
Maybe it's him. I mean,
No, just like Snake Eyes is going to show up, this is Zartan. That's my guess
okay,
for this week's Zartan.
okay.
Boom.
I don't really have a guess. I think it's Paul Westerberg because I mean, where's he?
Oh,
You know,
you never
I
see the
mean,
two in the same room.
the fourth song on the Replacements album, Tim, one of the best fucking records. You know what the name of that fucking song is, Mike? Dose of
No.
Thunder. Dose of Thunder. Machine. Paul Westerberg. I identify as not Batman, and my name is Sean.
I identify as Mike, Batman fan and
And
addict.
we identify this show as drinking with comics. Hi, I'm Sean. Join me and my friends every week for the Horror Vision, where we talk about horror movies. Comedy Gold. Hold on.
Comic Gold.